Now, only one parent must be Ivorian by origin to a presidential candidate in Ivory Coast. Now, a new draft constitution set to be presented by the country's president, Alassane Ouattara, to parliament dictates so. The amended clause, among others like having a vice president and extending the president's age limit, will see Ivorians go for a referendum expected to erase bits of the constitution that plunged the country into a decade-long political crisis.
In fact, by approving this project, Ivory Coast will say goodbye to the nationality conjunction, the one that says that to be a candidate, your father and mother have to be exclusively Ivorian. Well, it rests to the critics of this constitution to define what precisely is an Ivorian of origin.
Cette clause est difficile à définir et donc définir précisément ce qu'est un Ivoirien d'origine pose problème. Avec nous ce matin.
Joining us this morning is Mr. Mamadou Koulibaly to try to make us understand these grievances. He is the leader of the Livre in Ivory Coast. What exactly are your complaints in this draft constitution?
Pour arriver à cette constitution, M. Ouattara, depuis la fin des années 90, a accusé la constitution ivoirienne.
President Ouattara has often said since the 1980s that this constitution is prejudiced. And we have a project that doesn't touch on its problems. The content is the same, and that's why he has been complaining for several years. It's more nationalistic than the previous one. Land ownership is exclusively for Ivorians. It ranks them according to who can be president, between those who are originally descendants of Ivorians and those who are not originally of Ivorian descendants, meaning Ivorians of circumstance. So Ouattara complaining about the previous constitutions is just noise to maintain the status quo. I don't think that was the aim. Then what was the aim? The only thing that President Ouattara has changed, which seemed important, is the age limit of the Constitution had. It said that beyond 75 years, one is not qualified to be a candidate of the Republic. So that's a breakthrough for him. And then the organization of the state. The institutions he has created. The relations between these institutions. Instead of gripping onto state power and giving the people the freedom they deserve, he has brought together the main powers and given them to one single person. That is the President of the Republic. Whether it's the Vice President that he will appoint and dismiss of his functions like he wants, be it the Prime Minister whom he appoints and dismisses the way he wants. Whether it's the heads of the judicial institutions, whom he appoints and expels the way he wants, the parliament together with the Senate, that will only divide work in a country that's not federal. All is useless. All the power will return to President Ouattara, just that with the new constitution, when the second term comes to an end, he will say in 2020 that he will run for his first term of the Third Republic that he will establish. So he will stay in power as he did in 2010. I'm only asking for a 5-year term. I only want one term. Once given the mandate, 2 years later while in power, he said he needed a second term. So he is not true to his word. Well, you are still opposed to this project, and there is something you are planning in Parliament today.
Le mercredi, c'est la rentrée parlementaire.
So the parliament reopens today, and the parliamentary process would require that President Ouattara sends the draft constitution, then the assembly will decide, depending on the day's agenda, inform him, and subsequently send it to the assembly commissioners and ministers to defend it. He decided himself to attend the opening ceremony of parliament. It's open to the whole public, all Ivorians. It's the house of the people, and we are a certain number of people people in Ivory Coast who said very clearly that when the draft constitution arrives in Parliament and that it remains confidential for several weeks, all of us will attend the ceremony, inform the members of Parliament not to accept it and not to vote for it. So we will go. We don't need invitations to attend the meeting.
That was a political chairman of LIDER in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, Mamadou Koulibaly, giving us an insight on how the whole draft and the whole constitution that will make Ivorians go for a referendum might go.